This is CBC Vancouver News.
That's unusual for August. August is very dry in British Columbia.
Also beneficial to us in terms of decreasing the number of new starts that we might see, as well as how quickly any new starts we do experience might grow.
Heavy rain soaks the southern interior, a much-needed break for fire crews on the front lines, and
very exciting. Very. Oh, he was so good when he was here, and to come back here, it's awesome.
Canadian quarterback Nathan Rourke returns, bringing with it a new sense of excitement for BC Lions superfans. Plus,
I like all the food, and I like all of the peony.
Thousands flock to the PNE as it opens this weekend for the season, and the new name of the new amphitheater is revealed. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. We begin in BC's southern interior, where the region is getting soaked by some unexpected but much-needed rain. As Tom Popick reports, officials say the wetter weather is helping in the fight against wildfires.
After months of interior BC drought and extreme fire risk, a deluge. Rain hit the interior on Friday, and not just a little. Kelowna recorded more precipitation by noon than all of the month of July.
That's unusual for August. August is very dry in British Columbia.
Environment Canada meteorologist Chris Doyle says more precipitation is coming. Over the weekend, the kind of thunderstorms that kiss mountain ridges but don't always send showers down the valleys. But then, weather familiar to the wet west coast, days of sustained showers.
Well, when the Okanagan gets rainfall in August, it's usually out of thunder showers. It's not from persistently wet patterns. And so this is interesting. This is kind of like a monsoon.
It certainly does feel like fall's in the air. I'd say you can probably smell the pumpkin spice, but we're not quite there yet.
The BC Wildfire Service says wet, cool weather is bringing a needed break on the fire lines.
Super beneficial to our crews, and also beneficial to us in terms of decreasing the number of new starts that we might see, as well as how quickly any new starts we do experience might grow.
Some 371 wildfires are still active throughout the province, but over the past week, more than 230 have been put out. All 4 wildfires of note burn in the southern interior and are getting a good soaking. Still, BC's north, where the largest areas of wildfires burn, is drying out. There are no plans to send out-of-province and international firefighters back home quite yet.
Any precipitation is really welcome to those crew members on the ground. With being in an extended period of drought in the province, sometimes it is difficult for the precipitation to fully penetrate in different areas.
And emergency officials warn that fire-hardened ground poses its own dangers. Heavy rains can turn into debris-filled flash floods, and once the landscape gets soaked, hills filled with dead trees and dead roots can slump and cause landslides, like the massive one that blocked the Chilcotin River last month. Still, the window of risk is limited.
Our most advanced long-range prediction systems are suggesting that a real ridge will build back onto the coast for the last week of August. So kind of a wet week and then a dry week to end the summer.
Time enough to still enjoy the season, perhaps even with a campfire. Tom Popick, CBC News, Kelowna.
In the Kootenay region, Caslow Search and Rescue says the wildfires there has kept the group busy. In fact, they say this past July was the busiest month ever in the organization's history.
We were called, I think on one day, we were called up to Argenta area to do evacuation notices. That area grew while we were doing it. And in fact, then it changed into evacuation orders. Then on the same day, we were asked to go over to Slocan to support Arrow Lake Search and Rescue and a mutual aid to deliver the same in Slocan. Then another call came in for Trout Lake.
He says last month, the group received 26 calls in a span of about 2 weeks, with many of those days seeing multiple calls for rescue. And about half of those calls were related to wildfires. He also says the increase in calls has put significant strain on the organization's 40 volunteers. For the second time since last month, the Grouse Mountain gondola broke down this afternoon, leaving visitors stuck on the mountaintop. North Shore Rescue says they received 3 calls for help as many people attempted to hike down the mountain by foot. One man fractured his ankle on the way down and had to be airlifted to the hospital. North Shore Rescue says the gondola was out of commission for about 40 minutes. CBC News has reached out to Grouse Mountain Resort for more details but has not heard back. Strong winds, thunderstorms, and heavy downpours are expected to hit much of Vancouver Island and BC's south coast tonight. Environment Canada has issued a special weather statement for Metro Vancouver, Eastern Vancouver Island, the Southern Gulf Islands, Howe Sound, and the Sunshine Coast. They are urging residents to be prepared for possible power outages. BC Ferry says it's not expecting the storms to impact this weekend's sailings, but that could change. A tenant's legal advocate says the BC government needs to swiftly change a rule that led to the Esquimalt tenants' 27% rent increase. The rise came from a residential tenancy branch decision that said a landlord could go beyond regular allowable hikes due to high mortgage rates. Rafferty Baker has more.
Eli Mahoney and his fiancée will see their rent hiked in September and then again a year later. All told, it will be 27% more than they're paying now. All because of an RTB arbitrator's decision based on the landlord's financing arrangement.
I would hate to see this happen to more and more people, especially as prices on everything kind of keep inflating.
Mahoney says they're getting a good deal now, but they'll be looking for other options. Robert Patterson is a lawyer at the Tenant Resource and Advisory Centre. He says in his 6 years there, he's never personally seen the rule applied at the RTB.
It's like a zombie regulation. It's been just lurking under the ground. And now that the circumstances are right, the storm is upon us and it's risen out, and we need to do something about it very quickly.
Patterson says the provincial government can change it by order in council, meaning they don't even need to pass new legislation. Housing Minister Ravi Kahlon says the rule was brought in by the previous government and ministry staff will review it. Rafferty Baker, CBC News, Vancouver.
Reports of violence against Bangladesh's Hindu minority sparked a protest outside the Vancouver Art Gallery today. Some of those demonstrating say they fear for their families back home. And as Saurabh Sandhu reports, government-imposed communication outages have made it more difficult to stay in touch.
We say Bangladesh is Hindu! We say Bangladesh is Hindu!
Argyadev Biswas Aryan is a Bangladeshi Hindu who moved to BC 5 years ago. He says he's worried about the safety of his elderly parents back home in Bangladesh.
Situation is so volatile that they still are afraid to go out of their house and get the groceries, so they're doing the bare minimum just so that they can survive in those spaces.
A United Nations human rights report estimates more than 250 people have been killed in a single day during the weeks of violent protest following Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's resignation. Last week, a school teacher was killed and at least 45 people were reportedly injured as homes, businesses and Hindu temples were allegedly targeted.
There are still different violence acts that have been committed because of their religious identity or because of them being a minority.
Since the protest erupted, thousands of Bangladeshi Hindus have been trying to flee to neighboring India to escape the violence. Some say it's a concerning sign for an already dwindling population.
In 1947, Hindus was almost 29% of the population of the country, and right now it came down to 7.8%.
Protesters here are calling on Canada to pressure Bangladesh's government to combat extremism.
We urge, as a Hindus, we urge Canadian government to stand by us, to advocate for us.
Bangladesh is currently being run by an interim government headed by Nobel Peace Laureate Muhammad Yunus, who has assured his commitment to protect all the country's minorities. But many like Aryan are still not convinced.
They have been giving a lot of aspirational talks, but the problem is it is difficult for us to trust and to actually believe that whatever they are claiming, there are still a lot of violent attacks that are taking place.
Student demonstrators at the forefront of Bangladesh protests have rejected calls for fresh elections, while many back in Vancouver wait anxiously as they watch the situation play out from afar, hoping for a return to normalcy in their home country. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
There are fears the digital archives of a historic Japanese-Canadian newspaper may be lost. The files are currently available on SFU's website, but they'll soon be taken down. As Pinky Wong reports, without the digital platform, researchers and readers will only be able to access the papers in person in Burnaby or in Toronto, and that's raising concerns.
It's a window into the Japanese community at a time when they were under tremendous pressure.
This is the only paper that by the community, for the community, that was allowed to continue printing even after the War Measures Act took place, after the forced dispersal of Japanese Canadians off the west coast of British Columbia.
The New Canadian was first published in Vancouver in 1938 by second-generation Japanese Canadians. The publication started off in English before going bilingual during the Second World War.
From 1942, you'll notice that this suddenly includes Japanese language. And this allowed the paper to communicate to the entire community, the Issei, the first generation, who were primarily Japanese-speaking reading.
The Nikkei National Museum and Cultural Centre is one of 2 locations in Canada where physical archives can be accessed. Currently, the digital copies of the New Canadian and 28 other community papers are on SFU's library website. The school says they have to shut down assets for budgetary reasons, but will keep them online until the owners can find an alternative. So the scramble is on to find a new space. Lynn Kobayashi is the granddaughter of one of the editors of the New Canadian.
It was just a staple in every Japanese Canadian household. It was a source of identity. It was a source of social news. There's certainly an uptick in the research being done into the history. They do have copies that people can access in person, but that's a very limited.
The move to shut down the archives has sparked a petition with over 700 signatures and counting.
My grandfather was born and raised in Vancouver before he and his brother were forcibly uprooted during the Second World War. So for me, doing anything with this work, with this history, is kind of my way of saying to him, I'm proud of you. But also as a teacher, I like to use them in my classroom. This is a New Canadian story about a teacher who put together a goodbye gift from a student who was forcibly removed from her home during the war. We hope that wars will never prevent us from being good friends. May we soon see you again. Forget us not.
The owner of the archives, the Multicultural History Society of Ontario, says it is trying to find a solution. Pinky Wong, CBC News, Vancouver.
1,000 backpacks filled with school supplies have been handed out to children in need in Metro Vancouver.
Goal here today is to simply let families know that someone is in their corner. They have a community of people around them that care for them, that they matter, and that there's hope.
It's the 6th annual Back to School Blast hosted by City Reach Care Society. In addition to school supplies, the backpacks contain dental kits and snacks. Organizers say the annual event aims to help the growing number of families struggling to make ends meet amid the cost of living crisis. The excitement around the BC Lions and the Canadian Football League is palpable, with star Canadian quarterback Nathan Rourke set to lead the Lions tomorrow at home against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. As Karen Larson reports, the 26-year-old BC native returns to the team after taking a shot south of the border in the NFL.
He's back, looking every bit the champion CFL watchers came to know and love during Nathan Rourke's first stint with the BC Lions in 2021 and 2022. Forget about a gradual re-entry. The 26-year-old from Victoria will return to the starting quarterback position in Sunday's critical game, with only a few days of practice under his belt.
Yeah, it was quick. It was a lot of information at once, but I think it was a good week of prep.
It's kind of a whirlwind, the transition getting him in here, but we had a full week of practice, which was great, and he did a good job, and he's ready to go.
In his first go-round with BC, Rourke set a pro football record for pass completion percentage and was named CFL's most outstanding Canadian. He was signed by the NFL's Jacksonville Jaguars early last year.
Rourke swarmed, stays on his feet somehow,
making highlight reels everywhere with this preseason play, eluding not one, not two, not three, but 4 tacklers before throwing for a touchdown.
Rourke did the magician work.
But the NFL is a tough nut to crack for a Canadian quarterback, and after bouncing through 4 different teams in 18 months, Rourke says he is at peace with the decision to come home.
I went down to the NFL without any regrets. I come back with no regrets, and I'm hopeful for the opportunities that present themselves in the future. You know, I'm really excited about this team and the role that I can play in it, and I'm excited to be playing ball again.
I just got my last one, and it's all signed.
Fans like Teresa and Gary Wong, who came all the way from the Okanagan, couldn't be more delighted to see him back.
Very exciting. Very. Oh, he was so good when he was here, and to come back here, it's awesome.
Good for the Lions and good for the league.
You can just feel the excitement, and I always get a real good gauge on when I walk my dog in my neighborhood, and neighbors are coming out of their houses when they see me just because they want to talk about it.
Rourke's contract with the Lions will make him the highest paid player in the CFL next year, earning close to $800,000. Karen Larson, CBC News, Surrey.
Still to come, hundreds of Jasper residents are finally able to return home weeks after being forced out by wildfires. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Residents of wildfire-ravaged Jasper are slowly returning to their homes this weekend. About 5,000 people have been forced out since July 22nd. Today, though, officials declared the fire as being held or contained. The CBC's Sam Sampson reports.
Wet weather and hard work has made a dent in the wildfire burning in Jasper National Park, and there are two big changes on Saturday because of that. The wildfire is now being held. Officials don't expect it to grow anymore. And because of that, the evacuation alert in the town of Jasper has lifted.
So essentially yesterday we told residents to be ready to evacuate within a 1 hour notice. So because of the wildfire still being on the landscape, that this was still a possibility for Jasper residents. But with the news from Parks Canada and Unified Command this morning that the fire is being held, we no longer have that concern. So it's one more step towards life back to normal in Jasper. Residents?
It's been more than 24 hours since residents were allowed back in, and slowly they're cleaning out their homes. Residents tell us they're all working together to throw away fridges, washing machines, items that have sat without electricity for weeks or were damaged during the fire. Now that they're in town, some say the magnitude of rebuilding has hit.
I can't have a screw or a doorknob without driving 45 minutes to Hinton now. And so even that, to think of building 350 houses, where are the construction workers going to come from? Where are they going to stay? Because there's a third of the beds are missing. And so for us, I think that's what's overwhelming, and I'm sure everyone else is experiencing it too. The cost of rebuilding here is not equal to rebuilding in a normal situation.
The other realization as residents walk through town, just how much work was put into saving it, from crews all over the place.
I was literally pulled up to my house yesterday morning, pickup truck pulled up, a bunch of dirty, hairy guys in it that just said, hey, can we help you out? And, they've got Lethbridge and Hinton and all these small town, big town fire departments sent people here to help us.
The next step now is to get businesses and utilities up and running like normal. There's no timeline for when visitors can come back to the town, but when that happens, Jasperites tell us they'll be greeted with open arms. Sam Sampson, CBC News, near Jasper National Park.
Here we have a live shot of BC Place, all lit up in orange, possibly for the BC Lions game tomorrow. Lots of anticipation. I'll have your full forecast coming up next.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
CBC is proud to be the exclusive media partner of the 36th Annual Vancouver Queer Film Festival, September 11th to the 22nd, featuring 97 films from 25 countries. For festival tickets, visit outonscreen.com/VQFF and never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter and keep connected with us.
Mini donuts, fair food, rides, farm animals, and summer concerts. Yes, you guessed it. The Peony has officially opened, and we stopped by. Take a look. The name for the new amphitheater on the Peony grounds was also revealed today.
The Freedom Mobile Arch. It's a perfect signature of like this incredibly iconic roof to this venue. I can't wait for it to come to life and for us to see the incredible range of the kinds of performances that we're going to see. We're going to see like world-class music, but we're also going to see real cultural innovators, and we're going to see ballet, and we're going to see symphonies, and we're going to see community performances. It's really going to be a venue that brings you a little bit of everything and going to be something that everybody in BC and around the world can enjoy.
Well, whether you have plans to head out to the Peony or anywhere else this weekend, let's take a look at your forecast. We'll begin with the look at tomorrow's highs. Dease Lake is 23 and sunny, 22 in Fort St. John, 24 in both Williams Lake and Prince George. We are going to have that special weather statement in effect for many parts of the province. Bella Coola is going to see a lot of thunderstorms and rain at a high of 28, 25 in Golden. And moving into our 5-day forecast here in Metro Vancouver, again, lots of downpour of rain expected for tomorrow, as well some strong winds, so possibility of power outages with a high of 22 tomorrow. That's going to dry right up for Monday with a high of 20 and a mix of sun and clouds. That is your late news for this Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For news at any hour, you can always head to our website at cbc.ca/BC. We'll see you tomorrow.